Welcome to This Week in the SFL Week 6 alongside Mike O'Neill. I'm Cameron Irvine, always forgetting to maximize the window on a two-monitor setup. How you doing, Mike?
I'm good, Cam. I'm good. Just really, got some really good football at the end of the weekend, especially this weekend. But yeah, I'm good. Excited to break this week down with you.
Every week, Mike, I say, I should use the 4 monitors. I should rearrange everything from the weekend so that way I don't have to minimize the window. And then every week I say, it's fine. I'll remember to maximize the window. And it never happens. So, that's the life of a producer. But it was an amazing week 6, and it was capped off with a brilliant Sunday evening. But first to some other headlines. Leonard Butler Sr. was honored with an improbable score. More on that Louisiana Queen City game later. The 28-3 curse comes back to bite Portland. Highlights of Portland and San Diego coming up. And winless no more, Atlanta dominates Motor City. But first, we gotta head to Seattle for this incredible game between the unbeaten Artillery and the Seattle Nemesis. And look at Sabo Kanan getting it and going. Getting on the horse all the way for the score. Ridiculous start.
That was a perfect undercut route by Sabo. I mean, just Seattle's defense really took this one to start for sure.
Cheerleaders doing flips, and the Neons got it going on. More doom and gloom for the Artillery, trying to keep their unbeaten streak alive from 3 yards deep in the end zone. Ziggy Roenick on the return, and Ziggy would fumble it, and it's recovered by Seattle. You've got to be kidding me. Back-to-back plays for the Artillery, putting the Seattle in front.
Another huge play by Seattle here. I mean, anytime you can get your special teams playing like this, Cam, things are going right for you, for sure.
They got a field goal off of it, and then down just a little bit. Look at Brad Jones. He dies, but outside of the pylon. So Alamo City has to settle for 3, but they would tie the game at 10. Next series, a couple plays later for Seattle. Type attack with pressure. Hits Fox, who beats 2 players and is gone. That was a stone's throw from Type attack.
That was just perfect. It was a perfect throw by Ty. I mean, Fox had perfect inside leverage right there, and he's that good of a receiver.
But Ace Fennick and the Artillery would get things moving. Greg Soto or Yayo Montana puts on the moves on that route. Ties the game at 20. Alamo City not going away. Now, early in the fourth quarter, Ace Fennick pump fakes. It's another fumble, and it's another recovery by Seattle. They were forcing turnovers all night long. This defense had their best productive game of the season.
Yeah, that's what they've been missing. I think that they've been missing kind of that aggressive nature. We've seen them be aggressive, but we need to see them continue to make turnovers and create turnovers like this. That was a huge key for Seattle.
Darko Young forced the fumble. Then Baloo Scott gets it going. Breaks a tackle off of Jay Martin. Scores. Seattle back in front. They never trailed in the game. 7 minutes left. 5 minutes left. Now Ace Fennick out of the shotgun. Finds Yayo Montana. That pass was threaded into number 18, moves the chains for a first down. Alamo City and their Marble Road unis not done. Fennick again out of the shotgun. Look at the clever draw play to Brad Jones. Doug Day, who led the game in tackles, couldn't tackle Brad there as Alamo City ties the game. Nice shirt, Greg. 27-27 now. Look at Garrison Blue with the one-hander inside a minute to go after the Alamo City defense got the stop, and then Brad Jones finished them off. 5-0 Alamo City. They win 34-27 as Seattle would run out of time on their final play. Seattle falls to 3-2. Alamo City now a perfect 5-0, and this one took it all. Kind of reminded you a little bit, Mike, of the Seattle Fort Worth game earlier this season, where Seattle gave Fort Worth everything they had. They just couldn't come away with a victory.
And look, it was again, I mean, Seattle has got to be the unluckiest best team in the SFL right now. I think, no, I mean, I hate saying that, but like, seriously, there were some things in that game. For one, Alamo City figured it out at the end, and Seattle did a really good job not letting Brad Jones get too far out ahead early on, but later on, I think their defense was just, they were just gassed. And Brad Jones has been he's been him, he's been him, as the young folks say, for Alamo City. I know, but that's the truth. Brad Jones, I mean, fighting for that MVP race right now. He's been extremely good, and he's been a huge reason Alamo City's been so successful. Also, Yayo, right? Yayo Montana has been really good for that Alamo City receiving core as well. So, yeah, I mean, Alamo City really just putting everything together. For Seattle, you don't have to change much. There's not much you have to change here. It's really, if you can create turnovers like that against anybody else in the league, you're going to be fine. But you just happen to be playing the best team in the league right now. So, I think you get that close, and Seattle wins that game, I'm pretty sure, against every other team in the SFL.
Yeah, and at the same time, you look at the stats. Seattle had a pick 6. They had the long touchdown to Fox Highwin. They actually only had 8 first downs and 270 total yards of offense in this game. So Alamo City's defense continues to be the real deal. Seattle was 1 of 8 on third downs, lost time of possession by 12. You can see that in our new little stat pack at the bottom of the screen here on This Week in the SFL. So with that, let's hear from some winners and losers from this one. First, on the winning side, Greg Soto of Alamo City with Ashley Jackson on PGI.
Welcome back to PGI, where I am joined with a good friend of mine, Mr. Greg Soto, a.k.a. Yayo Montana. He is the head coach for the Alamo City Artillery, who are sitting undefeated at this moment. Greg, how are you?
Feeling good, and that is the best-dressed coach in the SFL, by the way.
Excuse me. Best-dressed coach.
Yes.
In the SFL. I like that. Listen, you guys put on a fantastic performance. That was a truly exciting game. If, in my opinion, I think that was game of the week. But take us back to 13 seconds at the end of the game, fourth quarter, when you guys lined up. What was going through your mind at that moment, right before that touchdown was scored? Yeah,
it's a wrap. It's a wrap. When I saw, just because of the way we play, I have so much confidence with our team, knowing that we were going to have the ball last, and I saw that was like 3.5 minutes left, and I said, yeah, this is us. This is our bread and butter. We have the ball. We're controlling the ball last, and when I saw those couple of seconds left, I said, yeah, it's over.
So I've always, at least this year, this season specifically, the South is very dangerous. You guys in particular are turned a whole new leaf over. And I want to know, what was the change, besides the game, of course? What did you do differently this season that you weren't doing last season particularly? I mean, you guys have always had a winning record, but it seems like something special is going on this season.
Yeah, just everything from our owners to the GMs, the coaching, all the players. Everybody in the locker room is very excited every week. Everybody's excited to do progressions, which is crazy. Just 34 people are excited to do progressions. So that, and just getting ready for the season. What changed a lot is what I like to call our research and development. We just went really nose to the grind, figuring out what we needed to do to be successful. It started after 3 days after we lost the playoff in last season, and we haven't stopped. Even now, I mean, we just try to figure out things with the new game. And one thing that I have completely stopped doing is second guessing myself and over coaching myself during the week. If I see something that works, it works. I don't second guess myself. I don't let Albert or any of the other coaches second guess me. We go with it. I saw it work, and that's it. And cross our fingers that the AI does what it needs to do and what I saw during the Sims. So, yeah, just not over coaching and not second guessing myself, which is something that I used to do. I used to ask the other coaches to kind of pull me out of the rabbit hole. I got to say, I haven't gone down the rabbit hole. I haven't even seen the rabbit hole this year. So, and that's what's changed with me as a coach.
Well, I'll tell you what, that change definitely warranted fantastic results for you and the ball club right now. You guys are doing amazing job so far. I wish you guys the best of luck for the rest of the season. I'm anxious to see how far Alamo City can go.
Yep, we haven't peaked yet. So the rest of the SFL, be careful.
All right, then. Putting y'all on notice. I love it. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Ashley.
Anytime. Back to you in the booth.
We talk quite a bit, and I think mainly because Alamo City and San Diego don't play this season. So, but we talk quite a bit. But I mean, we had that conversation talking about there is such thing as really, over coaching a playbook and really making too many changes to a playbook to where you lose the integrity of the foundation, if you will, of that playbook. And I think we see that. We'll see that on really. And that's I really think that some of these games that you see that are really heavily favored, like these games that have a lot of attention on them, because I can come out and tell you 110% that's what happened to San Diego against Minnesota. I overcoached that playbook, and I essentially took out the foundation of that playbook, and there was nothing left to stand on. So yeah, Greg's got a really good point, and it shows. Alamo City 5-0 right now, and they're looking really, really good. I mean, congrats to Greg and the team over there in Alamo City.
Skippy 999 Super Chat on this episode of Words We Make Cam Say. Take it away, Mike. And before we get there, Mike, I think Brooke owes Skippy money. I mean, she's calling all the shots, but then Skippy's making it all happen. So, well, I don't know what's going on there, but there's got to be a conversation at some point.
Oh, man. So Cam's word of the night is splendid, but there's a twist on it, and this was all courtesy of Brooke,
I'm not doing
which
the British
I do want. Oh, that's come on. Okay, if nothing else, Brooke and I's anniversary was 2 days ago, literally on Saturday. That was our 4-year anniversary. All right, and she told me, she said, "Babe, all I want for our anniversary is for Cam to say splendid with a British accent on air."
That did not happen.
That's what she said. I mean, what kind of husband would I be if I didn't honor that?
I know that didn't happen because you asked her what word that I was supposed to say 10 minutes ago. So that didn't happen on your end.
What you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, Christian Bachagalupi, save us.
And welcome back to PGI, where I'm joined with another good friend of mine, Mr. Christian Bachagalupi, of the Seattle Nemesis, wide receiver, as well as jack of all trades. You said that during this game, you had a couple of positions that you played, huh?
Yeah, I played some wide receiver, played some tight end, played some fullback. My only touch was at fullback for that third down not conversion, I guess. Unfortunately. Man. Yeah.
Man.
All over the place.
Christian, that was a fantastic game between Seattle and Alamo City. I think that could have definitely been game of the week, is what I was just telling Greg Soto. I want to know from you, though, what was going through your mind the last few seconds of that game, fourth quarter, when it was tied and you guys had a chance? What was going through your mind, and even in the locker room?
It was like just pins and needles, as you said off air. It's just one of those games where our I don't want to say luck ran out, but I mean we were very heavily dependent on turnovers through that game, and we just couldn't get over the hump in that fourth quarter, even though we led the whole game. And then when they had the ball, just driving, just that feeling of dread, the closer they got and the more that clock ran out, and where you knew what was going to happen. Either they were going to kick a field goal last minute or punch it in. It was really to the point where we probably should have just let them run it in and give us some time to try to score ourselves, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I got you. Last question for you. From your perspective, it seems like you guys played a pretty balanced game. What do you think you have to do to change things up for this next game you guys playing?
The biggest thing we need to do is on third downs, is both offense and defense. They were 75%, I believe, on converting their third downs, and we were 12% or 13, 12.5, I think. So that drives ending versus drives continuing. And really, if you can't convert on third down or stop the other team on third down, that good luck winning games.
Well, I will say this: Seattle has definitely turned over a new leaf, much like Alamo City and a few other teams that I can name. Playing very different ball this year. Sometimes any given sim day things happen, but I wish you guys the best of luck, and I think you guys can turn it around.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine.
Indeed, indeed. Well, thank you so much for your time, Christian. I appreciate it, and I'll see you soon.
Yep.
All right, then. Back to you in the booth.
Thank you, Ashley. Let's get back to the highlights, and let's head to Minnesota, where the Lumberjacks were taking on the Headhunters, and it was a great start for Josh Rowe. I got it. Oh, man. Dude, I love those Minnesota uniforms, but hey, Houston not looking too bad themselves with a little gold look. Dave Burr fires it to Mike St. Green in the back of the end zone, and Houston's got all the momentum in the first half, up 10-3 to the legend. Colin Hart, swan dive. He'd do that a few more times in this game. We'll see a little bit more of that from him later. Tie game at 10. The legend fans love it. More from Dave Burr. Look at this pass to DR Sim. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? In between two defenders, PI doesn't matter. Houston takes a 17-10 advantage and scores in their 2-minute offense with a timeout to spare.
That was beautiful.
Forget the penalty, and Houston still has momentum. Third quarter now. Dave Burr looking for somebody. Knight. Sack. Max Knight. His first of 2 sacks in the second half as Minnesota's defense tries to get going. Burr. Pass to Bovine. Touchdown. 3 different receivers with touchdown catches from Burr. 3 touchdowns, no picks in the game, 24-10. Minnesota's got to keep it moving. Johnny Reno finds Jason France. That would result in another 1-yard Colin Hart touchdown. Then Johnny Reno to Jay Taylor, who nearly
Love this fight.
Nearly got screwed by his own teammate there, but the fight gets him the first down. Another swan dive from Colin Hart, 24-24 with 8 minutes to go, and this is when the game fell apart. Shockingly for one of these teams, I don't want to get it away if you haven't seen it yet. As hello, that is Josh Slapp, the rookie, going untouched for 40-plus. How does that happen in that stage of a game?
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, Minnesota really just kind of had their back into their defense a little out of position, and Josh Slapp is a really good rookie that will make you pay.
He'd do it again to him. Next possession after Houston gets a stop. Josh Slapp, he goes untouched again. 25 yards he goes before somebody makes contact, gets the ball inside the 20, and Houston would tack on a field goal to make it 34-24. Now Minnesota is really in some trouble. Next play of the game, Johnny Reno picked off by Brady Clark, and he is out of here. All of a sudden, Houston has scored 17 points in 3.5 minutes, and they now have a 41-24 lead. 4 minutes to go. Johnny Reno picked by Brady Clark again. Takes a knee in the end zone, and the Houston Headhunters beat Minnesota on the road. It's only the second home loss in Minnesota legend franchise history, and the Houston Headhunters improved to 3-2. Your first reactions to Houston sending Minnesota down to 3-2.
Well, for one, kudos, because Minnesota is not an easy team to take down. They've shown that they've been at the top of this league, throughout 6 weeks. But man, how about Dave Burr? How about Josh Slapp? How about Brady Clark, the pickup, the signed free agent this offseason. You bring in Brady Clark, and I mean that's turning out to be a huge pickup for Houston. So I mean Brady Clark really being there, I think he's my player of the game, Cam. He really sealed the deal with those 2 picks. He was in the right place at the right time. The first time it was just a fly route. He knew exactly where it was going, and Johnny Reno just didn't have the time to really go to his next read on those plays. And he was really just trying to force something quickly, and Houston made him pay for it. And Houston had the perfect balanced offense. They utilized multiple backs. Dave Burr was very, very efficient, took the checkdowns when he needed to. I mean, I can't say enough about Houston, Cam, but I've been saying it all season.
228 on the ground, 229 through the air. And what I love about what Houston's doing, they are the only team with a split back setup who has gone to me at any point this entire season and said, I want to go with starter X. They give me the best chance to win this matchup, right? So that shows you that that down to the specific player, the Houston Headhunters are all over this thing. Are they the biggest surprise of season 21? I mean, I think the expectation for Houston was, it was a pretty low bar. Didn't, I mean, you're talking about an old casual adult gamers guy, a team that had been kind of middle of the pack for a few years. And I mean, they're only 3-2, but they're an impressive 3-2. The way they're playing though, no turnovers on the road. Like, what do you think? Where do they sit amongst your biggest surprises of the season so far?
I mean, I would say, I would say that they might have to be number 1, even over Seattle. And look, I know I have high praise for Seattle. Everybody knows that. I think Seattle's doing a great job over there. But talking about Houston, I think Houston's got to be my biggest surprise because, look, they were a middle-of-the-pack team last season and the past few seasons. Dave Burr has never been able to take that step, right? He's never been able to take that next step since coming out of the minors, playing for Lexington. And I think we saw that this week. I think we saw that, a couple times this season so far. We've seen Dave Burr kind of take that step that everybody's been waiting for him to take. And the crazy thing about this is that Houston really, I can't imagine at any point, I can't remember a time at any point during the offseason where I was like, oh, Houston's making moves. Not once. Not one, because they stayed under the radar.
They really did.
The entire offseason stayed under the radar and then came out. And I have gone personally to you a couple times, at least 2 or 3 times, saying, dude, did you see Houston's playbook this week? Like, they are really, really figuring it out. They've been really good. I'm so happy for Damon and the crew, which, that was, I think, one of the coaches that there was kind of questions about, transitioning into this new era, because he had so many ties to the old previous era. And Damon, I mean, hats off to you, my friend, because Houston is rolling right now. And though they're 3-2, they are a lot better than that record shows.
Minnesota took a little bit of a different approach to this game. They tried to air it out against Houston because Houston has had trouble defending deep passes. They had trouble against Fort Worth and Alamo City, but in this one, they really shut the door. It did not work for the Legend, and their turnover bug bit them like it didn't bite Alamo City, and Minnesota falls to 3-2. Okay, now rapid fire through some unbeatens, getting some big-time victories. Fort Worth defeats Indianapolis 49-21. The Ramblers fall to 1-4. This game was closer than the score appears. Fort Worth scored 28 points in the fourth quarter and really took it to them, but Fort Worth was in control pretty much the whole game, and Indianapolis needs some defensive fixing over the next few weeks.
Yeah, for sure. I think Fort Worth really just kind of came out and showed dominance later in the stretch. And I think that, the difference is play calling and the diversity in play calling and everything. And I think Fort Worth really can do anything. They kind of have a bag full of goodies. And I think Indianapolis, because of the slow start, they've been prone to overcorrecting too much one way each week. And so I think it's just about finding a balance for Indianapolis, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. Chad's a great coach over there, and they'll get to work for sure.
You know what was interesting about this game? Ryan Roosevelt is Indianapolis's best player. Fort Worth queued on him and took away basically half his targets. Stephen Hacker was Fort Worth's best player, at least over the past few weeks, and Indianapolis didn't take him away. And the result of that was Fort Worth getting whatever they wanted up and down the field. And it just goes to show you, right? If you've got top targets as a defense, you really have to try and take that away from the offense to give yourself a chance. All right, let's move on to Florida, where another game that was close, at least at the half, between Florida and Jacksonville ended up in a blowout, 48-10. Florida improves to 5-0. They stay unbeaten like Alamo City and Fort Worth, and Jacksonville falls to 2-3 with 2 blowouts in the division back-to-back. And, Mike, this defense they're just too aggressive. Florida adjusted at halftime, started throwing a bunch of screens. Jacksonville had no answer. Just not enough diversity for the Kings right now. And for Florida, they've proven now 2 weeks in a row they can do whatever they want to you. I mean, they are toying with these teams with their strategies from week to week. And they have far and away impressed me way more the last 2 weeks than they did the first 3.
I agree. I completely agree. I think the first three kind of look like the same trick, right? The first 3 games, it kind of looked like the same performance over and over again. So it didn't really answer much. But these past 2 weeks, right, they've really, really stepped up to the plate, shown that they deserve to be among the top, like they are. They've shown that they deserve to be there and in talks for contendership. But yeah, I think as far as Jacksonville goes, look, you played aggressive. I understand, right? I know what Frank and everybody's trying to do over there, but sometimes you gotta pump the brakes a little bit. You gotta pull it back a little bit, especially after a week after, right? You saw the high flying performance that Florida put up, right? So I think for Jacksonville, they kind of went all in on one area. We've seen what that can do to teams. Jacksonville, I don't think there's any panic. I still think that Jacksonville's a really quality team.
Yeah,
I think they've had two unfortunate games.
Yeah, I think the Louisiana game just kind of got away from them thanks to Louisiana's defense. In this case, it feels like they got away from themselves. You know what I mean? They hurt themselves maybe more than their opponent did. But Florida, credit to them, they took advantage of that and they remain undefeated. Jacksonville's got some things to fix up, but I agree with you, Mike. I think there's not as much panic there as maybe there may be some other places. All right, let's get to the curse or lack thereof and watch Mike O'Neill giggle like a schoolgirl in the second half as we go to Portland and San Diego, where Nelson Lozano, this dude is balling. He gets a touchdown, then Ezekiel Love scores and gets a touchdown, 14-0 in the second quarter for Portland. Just like that, San Diego's offense a little bit in the mud again in the first quarter, digging themselves a hole. Would they be able to get out of it? Second quarter now, Pickler on the toss, and it's blown up in the backfield, and Portland recovers the fumble. So they get some momentum there. Gilbert with the fumble recovery, and now it's Ezekiel Love's turn to impress. Love gets a total clear-out block. Israel Adams moved that defensive back about 10 yards, and Love was gone. 21-0 Portland, and Mike, you said you turned this game off.
Yeah, I did. I turned this game off because I was like, I didn't like after that fumble where they undercut that toss, and then they came back to score that, on that drive, the next possession. I was like, man, this is not looking pretty. But I think something told me to turn it back on, and I'm glad I did. And
it was Hunter McWaffle getting San Diego back in this thing. A couple of key late blocks on a sweet dump off against a blitz. And San Diego, just like that, makes it a 2-possession game. Fast forward to the fourth quarter, and B. Robo is getting away from Derek Major, says, "You are too small for me, young fella," as B. Robo gets into the end zone for the score, makes it 28-19. Now San Diego's got something to cheer about. Extra point good. 28-20. 6 minutes to go. Back up in, and that's a fumble. And it's picked up by San Diego, and there they go. Back the other way. Is that King Bradshaw? Is that King Bradshaw doing another great thing defensively? Michael Knight will catch him at the 8-yard line to make it just a little bit difficult for San Diego, looking sweet in the camo, but they've got all the momentum here at home. Pickler hands it off. Pseudo Nakai, right side, too fast. Touchdown, Mavericks. It's a 2-point game. It was 28-3. Portland still hasn't scored in the second half. 2-point try to tie it. Pickler will hand it off to Nakai. And Nakai's got the edge. Too easy. Tie game at 28. 5:13 left. Unbelievable. So, all the momentum, right? Scott Johnson ensuing kickoff. No way. Are you kidding me?
This is just one that I just laughed at because I was like, man, I gave this dude praise on live air, talking about how Portland was great for doing this. No.
Next drive. Down 7. Hunter McWaffle. I'll take it all the way. No one's going to catch me. No one's going to touch me. Touchdown, San Diego. We're tied again. And at this point, I thought DeMont was going to have a heart attack. He couldn't believe it. Now Scott Johnson on the ensuing kickoff. It's a fumble. And San Diego recovers. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, that was a huge play on special teams for us. That was a huge turning point. The momentum was going back and forth, and to get a stop right there, especially right after that Scott Johnson return, that was huge for us.
So San Diego up 3, gets a pick to win the game. However, pass interference would put Joey Robb on the field, and his field goal is true. No problem with that. That sends us to overtime where? Take it away, Cliff Allen. He delivers after San Diego's defense got the stop, and the Mavericks win 41-38 in overtime. That is the second largest comeback in SFL history and the largest comeback in the 4K23 era. 41-38 in overtime, and San Diego breathes a sigh of relief. 3-3 now, heading into your bye week. Is that correct? You're off next week?
We've got Monday Night Football, man.
Oh, that's right, against Indianapolis. Then I think you finally get a bye. That's going to be a big one on September 11th. But the emotions running through your veins in this game, to turning it off, to getting a feeling that maybe we should get back into this thing and see how we're doing, to just the elation of somehow coming away with this victory. First, let's focus on the defense, Mike. 28 points given up in the first half, and then goose egg, basically, given up for the whole rest of the game. What did you see change, in your defense in that second half? How were you able to come back in this one?
Yeah, so I think in the first half, for sure, we weren't keying in on Nelson Lozano enough. That was a big focus of the week. And the first half, we kind of just let him roam free. He had that touchdown really early on. But yeah, that anytime you can't contain their key players, and look, it was a 5 yards, 6 yards, 4 yards, 7 yards by Zeke. I think our defense really just got gassed in that first half. Second half, I think we started realizing the tendencies that they had coming out of halftime, and I think we started keying in on some of the places they like to go with the football. And I really think that because we had everything in the playbook, right? We had everything there. The cards weren't in our favor in the first half. And sometimes that's how it is, that's a good team in Portland. That's a really good team, a lot better than their record shows. And they were just out there executing like any football team trying to win would do. And we didn't have answers for it in the first half. Second half, we really started to tighten up, and a couple of huge plays made in situations where you wouldn't expect them to, like fumbles on kick returns, or even just fumbles and interceptions. Period. Were great. Anytime we can get takeaways, we're big on that. And for Johnny, just to answer on the offense really quick, Johnny Pickler really played good and stepped it up the second half. He struggled really bad early on. Our receivers could not get separation in the first half. We couldn't find anybody open. I think once we started to find the balance in our offense and started to realize some of the things that they were doing defensively, we were able to kind of attack the areas that we want to, because we had the right things in the playbook to attack them.
Portland played well, 466 total yards. They had 3 touchdowns and 3 red zone trips. But they just didn't have the field position San Diego did. They didn't have the balance that San Diego did. Again, a little bit, as we've seen with Portland in the past, just a little bit too dependent on that run. But they are getting better. They are improving. They are 2-3, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with down the stretch. All right, that's enough of San Diego. And Michael Neal patting himself on the back. Come on, bro. You're down 24-3. Back to the highlights, or 28-3, and that's even worse.
28-3.
Sioux Falls hosting Las Vegas, and early on, it was the main factors of these two teams being successful at the start of the season. A.J. Warren getting a catch there. That put Vegas or Sioux Falls up 7-0, and then Hubba Kimbrell continues to do his thing with Vegas down 10-7, getting the Fury into scoring position. And then it was Eric Price hitting Doug Britton in the back of the end zone coming up that gave Vegas a 14-10 lead. You know, Vegas looked solid early on in this one. It looked like they were just going to kind of cruise, but Sioux Falls defense, I got to give it to them. They really stepped up. Look at this, 3rd and 1 on a end-around jet sweep to Hubba Kimbrell, and an open field tackle forced a field goal. Now with Sioux Falls up 20-17, A.J. Warren at it again late in the fourth quarter, trying to close this one out, and close it out they did. Julian Tyree to K. Marion. Watch this heads-up play by K. Marion. Well, actually, no, we're going to go to Jason Williams inside the 20 and down inside of the 15-yard line, as Sioux Falls needed a touchdown to make this a 2-score game. Vegas needed a stop, 3rd down and goal for Williams. All or nothing here. This is the ball game. Vegas shifted to the right side, but 2 players dove at Williams and missed him. That made it 27-17. Sioux Falls up by 10. And, you know, they just kind of slowly pulled away. There wasn't a ton of highlight magic in this one, although A.J. Levy coming back from injury to get the game-winning interception was pretty sweet. But nevertheless, Sioux Falls goes to 2-3. Vegas drops to 2-3. That Vegas defense is still good, Mike, but they're just too reliant on Hubba Kimbrell right now. It's too one-dimensional.
Yeah, they've got to get the offense going. They've kind of got to get their offensive pieces going outside of Hubba Kimbrell. We know Hubba Kimbrell's been good. We know that he has been a really, really good running back in this league. But they've got to get the rest of their offense going. I mean, you've got playmakers outside at wide receiver. They have quite a few wide receivers too, if I recall. So I mean, they have ways to get them involved. Eric Price has got to. They kind of need to lean on Eric Price, I think, a little bit more, because you saw flashes in the passing game, and I would love to see Vegas really come out. I would love to see them come out one week passing to open up the run. Kind of, taking the pressure off of Hubba and really flipping the script there. I think some teams would really have some trouble with that. But defensively, they're not getting the same push that they got in the first few weeks of the season. And I would love to see them tighten that up. I think they need to go back to their identity of physical playing. I will say that Itera was all over in that game. Itera played a really good game.
Where's the high-flying, high-risk, high-reward Vegas offense that we saw from the previous era? They've toned it down, and I think teams are starting to catch up now, so we'll see what they do. Louisiana and Queen City, Cadillac style, 68 at the midfield stripe, honoring their fallen teammate, Leonard Butler Sr., who passed away 1 year ago exactly, and Gary Clem gets the party started for Louisiana. And while we reflect on Leonard, I just want everyone to appreciate this opening drive for Louisiana on offense. We're going to talk about all the different weapons they got involved. I love watching teams get all their players involved really early on in the game. So Clem gets the interception. Tommy Utah kicks things off. Swing out of the fullback. Cameron Collier picks up a first down. Look at 68 in there on the wall. That's pretty sweet in Stack Up Stadium. And Louisiana's balance will continue. Utah over to Adam Banks inside the 25. And Mike, I'll let you take it away as we just admire this great for opening drive.
Yeah, I mean, Louisiana really, like you said, they learned a balance, right? You saw Banks getting involved. Collier, I love seeing Collier involved on a pass. And yeah, I mean, here, like those running backs are really, really stout. Louisiana really doing a good job balancing things out and getting things going early, and that's what led to this success on this drive.
And Dwayne Sammons Jr. followed by Chris Grant, Dwayne Sammons followed by Chris Grant Jr. gets the touchdown. So a whole bunch of different players touch the ball in the opening possession for Louisiana, and they're rewarded with a touchdown, 7-0. How about this from Trellis Blanton? Avoiding pressure, rolling to his right, wide open is Chase Matthews. This guy hadn't had a catch all season, gets a couple in the first half. So Queen City hanging around 17-13, but this Liam Hammer kick return just blew the doors off this place.
Yeah, Liam Hammer. We know how much of a threat Liam Hammer is in the wide receiving game. But how about as a kick returner, right? Looking pretty stout there, and I mean pretty fast down there too. I mean, there's such thing as game speed, and Liam Hammer's got that game speed.
Louisiana goes up 24-13, and this game started to get away from Queen City pretty quick. Blanton tried to force that into double coverage, and it's Jeff Melanishin with the interception return. That was with Louisiana up 31-13 early in the third quarter still, and the Revolution will capitalize. 3rd down and 10. Tommy Utah finds Reggio De Niro. Pretty pass to the back of the end zone. Another Revolution player on the highlight reel. 38-13. Look at the Cadillac-style shirts in the crowd.
Yep.
Louisiana all about it. Now 45-16. That is a point total of 61, and that is a touchdown pass and catch to Doug Spelling to give us a point total of 67. And on a night honoring number 68, there's Leonard Butler Sr. with Otis Boudreau behind the field goal nets. That extra point is good, and we finish with 68 points on 68's night. 45-23 Louisiana. I can't get over that end result.
Yeah, I mean, what an incredible story, and these are the things that happen in the SFL. If you're not a part of this community, if you're somebody just casually watching at home, get involved, because this community is real and it goes so much deeper than football. Yes, we love our football here. Yes, we can talk about X's and O's all day. Everybody knows that, but it goes deeper than football. And this game, and seeing the reaction just out of both sides, and the honestly, it was a game, memorial game. Essentially, it ended up as a memorial game, and that's just, I mean, this community really sticks together and really is something of its own. So yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about this outcome.
4 touchdowns in 4 red zone trips for Louisiana. If you're going to be that efficient in the red zone, you're going to be tough to stop. Louisiana improves to 3-3, so they are definitely in the thick of things. Queen City, they're falling backwards just a little bit. They're just struggling to find themselves, but they're still playing some good football. But they've had a couple games now that's they've gotten away from them.
Yeah, but you know what I'll say is that I think early on, it's good to see that they're adding some diversity to the playbook. The first 3 weeks, Queen City was all dink and dunk with Trellis Blanton.
That's true. Yep.
And now they're starting to take some risk. And I don't know. I mean, if you were watching that game, Trellis Blanton threw some dots in that game. Some really, really, really good. I mean, I just thinking about that last touchdown for Queen City. I mean, really fitted in between a corner and a safety, like directly in between. He had a very tight window there, and really delivering it. So, I mean, Trellis Blanton, I think is still a really, really good quarterback, and I feel that Queen City has the tools and the potential to turn this thing around. I feel like it's just a matter of getting their scheme right and figuring out their personnel.
All right, rapid fire now to some other games around the league. Vancouver, they just torched LA's defense. They just did. I mean, LA's offense has been great the past couple of weeks, but they can't stop a nosebleed, Mike. They've got to figure out this defense. It's got to be priority number one. I mean, they didn't get a stop on Alamo City until the fourth quarter, and they didn't get a stop on Vancouver until the fourth quarter. The Legion are just as impressive as they've been all season long. They improved to 3-2. LA's getting there.
Best offense in the league for me.
Yeah, LA's getting there on one side of the ball, but you can't win with 50% of a game plan. Go ahead, get back to Vancouver's offense though for a minute.
Yeah, man, they're talking about utilizing a lot of players, and Logan Lee has really, really came into his own these past few games. But I think that's got to be the most consistent offense through the first, outside of, I think the Las Vegas game was an anomaly for Vancouver, because outside of that, man, they've been racking up points week after week, and it's really impressive. They've done a really, really good job. They've got Christian Brown playing lights out over there. So yeah, Vancouver's definitely one to watch for. They are in the thick of things.
LA falls to 1-4. Carolina puts up a stinker, 27-6. As DC gets a 21-point win. Carolina just asleep in this game. DC and Carolina now both 3-2, along with Baltimore in a very crowded Atlantic division, with Charleston trying to get to 2-3 with a victory in Canton coming up here on the Monday Night Spectacular. This is the second time, Mike, I've seen DC totally dismantle an opponent. They did it to Atlanta. They did it to Carolina here. That defense is impressive.
Yeah, the defense is great. And what sticks out to me, Cam, is their physicality on the outside. Their corners really can tackle really well. And I think you look at this, and I think the trend is this, right? Atlanta, Carolina, both very heavy run offenses that rely on the pieces in the backfield to get everything else moving, right?
True.
Ike McBride has got to be involved to get the rest of Carolina moving. Same thing with BDG Hollywood. I think that's the recipe that we're looking at for this DC team. I think it all comes back to the physicality on the outside for DC and how they've been able to tackle in positions that, a lot of other teams haven't been able to tackle in. So really think that's the deciding factor.
And that bodes well for DC, considering that a lot of teams, at least early on, are built like that. Now, the Dragons have a rematch with Baltimore looming, so that's going to be an exciting matchup. DC's resume pretty good, 3-2. They got a 1-point loss to Baltimore and a 3-point loss to Charleston, but it was week 1 a long time ago. Let's hit Atlanta and Motor. Actually, you know what? Before we go to Atlanta Motor City, let's hear from Tori Hanzo and Ashley Jackson on PGI.
What is up? And we are back with PGI. And I am back with a good friend of mine, Mr. Hattori Hanzo of the Carolina Skyhawks. Oh, man, it just came off a loss to DC, man, 27-6. Looks like there was a little bit of a breakdown in the offense tonight, Coach. I mean, how you doing?
Well, I mean, there's some issues that we need to resolve, but other than that, I mean, DC played a really great game. We just made a lot of mistakes. We couldn't get the job done on offense. Defense was struggling a little bit, not too bad, but, there were some key points. We had to stop that tight end. I mean, he was going over the top and just busting us for huge yards. So, I mean, both sides of the ball kind of struggled a little bit, but nothing that we can't fix or overcome.
Awesome. So you guys are doing fantastic up until this game. What do you think changed from last season to this season to kind of give Carolina that, that edge this season?
Well, for one, it's a new game, so that kind of helps, the playing field. Everybody's like on the same page. Just trying to figure it out. I think that with our personnel, everybody progressing, that played a big part in it. I can't really answer that, actually. I mean, we're doing what we need to do. We're game planning. We're doing all that stuff. But, and I do want to give a huge shout out to Levant. Levant has been doing an amazing job. Me and Harish has kind of had to step back a little bit, some personal issues. My wife has had some problems. I know Harish has had some problems. And we both are just, at our regular job, we are just worked to death. So Levant has really stepped up. Him and Mojo and Skippy has really stepped up with progression. Everybody's just coming together and helping out and doing what needs to be done. So, I mean, all these wins, even the losses, all that's credited to Levant. I got to give him props on that, because he's doing a really great job.
Awesome to hear.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks I'll be able to take it back over and put forth a good game plan so we can get back on top. But this loss, it hurt us a little bit in the division. But as far as it's just another loss. It's just another game. We got to forget it, move on to the next game. DC played really well today, so we can't take nothing away, nothing against them.
Indeed. 0-0 every start of the week, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your words, and wish y'all the best of luck for the rest of the season. Any given sim day. So
thank you.
Good luck to y'all.
Thank you.
Anytime. Back to you in the booth.
I did it again. Sorry, I was muted, everybody. Atlanta 0-4 before this game gets a dominating victory over Motor City to drop the V8s to 3-2. Yeah, the chat, I'm seeing your messages, but you're behind. You're like living in Pacific time at this point. But Atlanta gets a solid victory. And Mike, we were talking about teams that love to run on first down. Well, that's Motor City the past 2 weeks, and I thought the big thing in this game, Mike, was third down defense from Atlanta. They were spectacular, open field tackling, and finally Atlanta. We knew it was coming at some point, but finally they got a victory.
It was only a matter of time. I mean, with a team of this caliber, it's only a matter of time before they start figuring things out. Atlanta, and they've been unlucky, right? How many teams can they say that they've lost a game to a fake field goal touchdown? So
that's true.
I mean, let's be honest. They've been unlucky. But no, I think Atlanta really finally figured it out. They're figuring it out on offense. I think they're starting to find the balance on offense, right? They're finding better ways to utilize BDG. They're finding ways to get their playmakers involved. And on defense, yeah, like you said, third down defense was huge in this game, shutting down Motor City on a team who really was kind of really good in those situations, right? Motor City up until this point has been one of the teams that's been really good in third and long situations because they've had that passing game figured out. Atlanta did their due diligence, came out and really, really shut it down on Motor City.
So you mentioned Atlanta being unlucky. Maybe they should be 2-3. Maybe they should be 3-2. Well, are they going to be able to pull themselves out of this jam at 1-4? Here's their next 4 opponents: at Charleston versus Florida versus Louisiana, at Canton. How do you see this shaking out, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I would say with Charleston, that's a toss-up. I think that they can take Charleston because you don't know what Charleston team you're going to get. Charleston has looked really good on some weeks and looked not so good on other weeks, so you don't know. I think that they could take Charleston. Florida, I mean, look, I predicted their initial matchup. If you go back and listen to around the SFL podcast, I predicted them to beat Florida that first time, and they did not. So maybe just for my own kudos, they'll come out and beat Florida on this one. But I think that if they go 2-2, they've got to be happy with this. Obviously, you've got to shoot for 4-0. Where you're at in the season right now, you kind of can't afford to lose any more than 2. Absolutely. But really it's, I don't want to say the season's over, right? But you kind of got unlucky off to a start. So, I know that they'll do what they need to kind of turn the ship around.
It's all about momentum running downhill, right? If they can beat Charleston, who's a beatable team right now, they go to 2-4. Then if they upset Florida, okay, now we're rolling, right? Now we're 3-4. Right. Now we just beat one of the best teams in the league. We were at home. Now we got Louisiana coming in. Louisiana could be 3-4 or 4-3, right? It's kind of a toss-up game, and so that's I think that Florida game, that's their season, right? If they can, if they can take care of Charleston and then they can get that upset against Florida, I think Atlanta's got something. If they lose, fall to 2-5, or now they're 1-6 because they lost to Charleston too. I think it's too far to come back. Yeah. So that's a huge one coming up in a couple of weeks. Atlanta starts us off on a few Fridays coming up in the SFL schedule. Mike, final thoughts on Week 6 before we get to our Monday night spectacular game this evening, Charleston and Canton.
I don't think that we saw as close of games as we've kind of grown accustomed to seeing these past few weeks. But I think that there were some answers this week, right? Like if I'm looking at this week and I say, what did I learn from this week? I learned Houston is as good as I thought they were. I learned that DC has the best tackling defense in the league. And I know that's a bold statement, but I'll come out and say it because I do believe it. There's multiple things I learned. I learned that Seattle is as good as they thought, and I learned that Alamo City just can't be stopped. And Fort Worth, I think Fort Worth said a lot this week too. I mean, the good teams continue to win. Everybody else is trying to figure it out, but I mean, we had some good football. This ultimately felt like a transition week or a week where everybody was kind of testing some waters, and It didn't come out as close as we are accustomed to seeing. But hey, I'm ready for Week 7. I know San Diego is fired up right now. We got Monday Night Football next week, so yeah, I think we're all ready for Week 7.
And it feels like there's about 15 teams that could win a title right now. I mean, we still have 3 undefeated teams, but they haven't been infallible. They've all been tested. They've all won some close games, so that's pretty great. Well, let's get to Charleston and Canton, our main show of the night. And as we look at this matchup comparison, it's interesting. First typo of the show, series wins. Canton has not beaten Charleston 34 times. In fact, they have never met. Both teams have 0 series wins. That could not have been in a worse place to put that. No series wins for either team. The last time Charleston made the playoffs was back in season 18, and Canton has never been. Look at the passing yards, Mike. First in the league. John Lakeman and this Charleston offense have been great. Canton's been pretty good on the ground. Their scoring defense is 8th. They've been pretty great defensively. What do you see as the keys to this matchup?
I think the key to this matchup is going to be Lakeman taking care of the football. Yes, they have had the best passing offense. They're number 1 in passing yards per game, but they've also been, a little suspect in the turnover ratio. So I think that Charleston's really got to take care of the football. I think for Canton, they've got to come out and play their true identity. I think the big thing that you're looking at here is ultimately their defensive backs. We know that Charleston's going to come out and pass the ball. They may not initially, but at some point, Lakeman will sling the rock. And I think Canton has got to be prepared to match up with those wide receivers, and they've got to be prepared to come up with some takeaways. That's how Canton wins this game. I think if Canton gets 2 to 3 takeaways, I think they walk away with a win tonight.
Yeah, I think that's going to be huge as well, Mike. And with Charleston here recently, Terrell Sutherland, Saren Storm, and Nick Hoagland have been one of the best trios in the backfield in terms of balance. Charleston's found something really good with that, and that could be key, to limiting the turnovers. Yes, they're the number 1 passing team in the league, but I think if that run game can find some holes and keep Canton's offense off the field from controlling the game themselves, sort of like beating Canton at their own game, I think Charleston's got something. So that's a look at your Monday Night Spectacular for this week. The sun has set on SFL headquarters. For Mike O'Neill, I'm Cameron Irvine. This has been This Week in the SFL for Week 6, and we'll see you next week and next here on SFL YouTube on the Monday Night Spectacular. Have a great night, everybody, and let's watch some great football.